Chess is a two-player board game played on a chessboard, a checkered gameboard with 64 squares arranged in an 8x8 grid. Chess is played by millions of people worldwide in homes, urban parks, clubs, online, correspondence, and in tournaments. In recent years, chess has become part of some school curricula. Each player begins the game with 16 pieces. 1 king, 1 queen, 2 rooks, 2 knights, 2 bishops, and 8 pawns. Each of the 6 piece types moves differently. The most powerful piece is the queen and the least powerful piece is the pawn. The objective is to checkmate the opponent's king by placing it under an inescapable threat of capture. To this end, a player's pieces are used to attack and capture the opponent's pieces, while supporting their own. In addition to checkmate, the game can be won by voluntary resignation by the opponent, which typically occurs when too much material is lost, or if checkmate appears unavoidable. A game may also result in a draw in several ways. Chess is believed to have originated in India. Sometime before the 7th century, the Indian game of chaturanga is also the likely ancestor of xiangqi and shogi. The pieces took on their current powers in Spain in the late 15th century. The rules were finally standardized in the 19th century. The first generally recognized world chess champion, Wilhelm Steinitz, claimed his title in 1886. The current world champion is the Norwegian Magnus Carlsen. The World Championship is now controlled by FIDE, the game's international governing body. FIDE also organizes the Women's World Championship, the World Junior Championship, the World Senior Championship, the Blitz and Rapid World Championships and the Chess Olympiad, a popular competition among teams from different nations. There is also a Correspondence Chess World Championship and a World Computer Chess Championship. Chess is a recognized sport of the International Olympic Committee. Some national sporting bodies, such as the Spanish Consejo Superior de Deportes, also recognize chess as a sport. Online chess has opened amateur and professional competition to a wide and varied group of players. There are also many chess variants, with different rules, different pieces, and different boards. Since the second half of the 20th century, computers have been programmed to play chess with increasing success, to the point where the strongest home computers play chess at a higher level than the best human players. Since the 1990s, computer analysis has contributed significantly to chess theory, particularly in the endgame. The computer Deep Blue was the first machine to overcome a reigning world chess champion in a match when it defeated Garry Kasparov in 1997. Rules. The official rules of chess are maintained by FIDE, chess's international governing body. Along with information on official chess tournaments, the rules are described in the FIDE Handbook, Laws of Chess section. Setup chess is played on a square board of 8 rows and 8 columns of squares. The colors of the 64 squares alternate and are referred to as light and dark squares. The chessboard is placed with a light square at the right-hand end of the rank nearest to each player. By convention, the game pieces are divided into white and black sets, and the players are referred to as white and black respectively. Each player begins the game with 16 pieces of the specified color, which consist of 1 king, 1 queen, 2 rooks, 2 bishops, 2 knights, and 8 pawns. The pieces are set out as shown in the diagram and photo, with each queen on a square of its own color, the white queen on a light square and the black queen on a dark. Movement. The player with the white pieces always moves first. After the first move, players alternately move 1 piece per turn. Pieces are moved to either an unoccupied square or one occupied by an opponent's piece, which is captured and removed from play. With the sole exception of en passant, all pieces capture by moving to the square that the opponent's piece occupies. A player may not make any move that would put or leave his or her king under attack. A player cannot pass. At each turn they have to make a legal move. Each chess piece has its own style of moving. In the diagrams, The dots mark the squares where the piece can move if no other pieces are on the squares between the piece's initial position and its destination. The king moves one square in any direction. The king has also a special move which is called castling and involves also moving a rook. The rook can move any number of squares along any rank or file, but may not leap over other pieces. Along with the king, the rook is involved during the king's castling move. The bishop can move any number of squares diagonally, but may not leap over other pieces. The queen combines the power of the rook and bishop and can move any number of squares along rank, file, or diagonal, but it may not leap over other pieces. The knight moves to any of the closest squares that are not on the same rank, file, or diagonal, thus the move forms an L shape, 2 squares vertically and 1 square horizontally, or 2 squares horizontally and 1 square vertically. The knight is the only piece that can leap over other pieces. The pawn may move forward to the unoccupied square immediately in front of it on the same file, or on its first move it may advance 2 squares along the same file provided both squares are unoccupied, or the pawn may capture an opponent's piece on a square diagonally in front of it on an adjacent file. By moving to that square, the pawn has 2 special moves: the en passant capture and pawn promotion. Castling once in every game, each king is allowed to make a special move, known as castling. Castling consists of moving the king 2 squares along the first rank toward a rook and then placing the rook on the last square the king has just crossed. Castling is permissible under the following conditions. Neither the king nor the rook may have been previously moved during the game. There must be no pieces between the king and the rook. The king may not be in check, nor may the king pass through squares that are under attack by enemy pieces, nor move to a square where it is in check. Note that castling is permissible if the rook is attacked, or if the rook crosses a square that is attacked. En passant when a pawn advances 2 squares from its starting position and there is an opponent's pawn on an adjacent file next to its destination square, then the opponent's pawn can capture it en passant, and move to the square the pawn passed over. However, this can only be done on the very next move, otherwise the right to do so is forfeit. For example, if the black pawn has just advanced 2 squares from g7 to g5, then the white pawn on f5 may take it via en passant on g6. Promotion when a pawn advances to the 8th rank. As a part of the move it is promoted and must be exchanged for the player's choice of queen, rook, bishop, or knight of the same color. Usually, the pawn is chosen to be promoted to a queen, but in some cases another piece is chosen. This is called under promotion. In the diagram on the right, the pawn on c7 can be advanced to the 8th rank and be promoted to an allowed piece. There is no restriction placed on the piece that is chosen on promotion, so it is possible to have more pieces of the same type than at the start of the game. Check when a king is under immediate attack by 1 or 2 of the opponent's pieces, it is said to be in check. A response to a check is a legal move if it results in a position where the king is no longer under direct attack. This can involve capturing the checking piece, interposing a piece between the checking piece and the king, or moving the king to a square where it is not under attack. Castling is not a permissible response to a check. The object of the game is to checkmate the opponent. This occurs when the opponent's king is in check, and there is no legal way to remove it from attack. It is illegal for a player to make a move that would put or leave his own king in check. In casual games it is common to announce check when putting the opponent's king in check. However, this is not required by the rules of the game, and is not usually done in tournaments. End of the game. Win games may be won in the following ways. Checkmate. Resignation. Either player may resign, conceding the game to the other player. It is usually considered poor etiquette to play on in a truly hopeless position, and for this reason high-level games rarely end with a checkmate. Loss on time. In games with a time control, a player may also lose by running out of time, even with a much superior position. Forfeit. A player who cheats, or violates the laws of the game, or violates the rules specified for the particular tournament may be forfeited. In high-level tournaments, players have been forfeited for such things as arriving late for the game, receiving a call or text on a cell phone, refusing to undergo a drug test, refusing to undergo a body search for electronic devices, and unsporting behavior. Draw games may end in a draw in several ways. Draw by agreement. Draws are most commonly reached by mutual agreement between the players. The correct procedure is to verbally offer the draw, make a move, then start the opponent's clock. Traditionally, players have been allowed to agree a draw at any time in the game, occasionally even without playing a move. In recent years, efforts have been made to discourage short draws, for example by forbidding draw offers before move 30. Stalemate. The player whose turn it is to move is not in check, but has no legal move. Threefold repetition of a position. This most commonly occurs when neither side is able to avoid repeating moves without incurring a disadvantage. The three occurrences of the position need not occur on consecutive moves for a claim to be valid. FIDE rules make no mention of perpetual check. This is merely a specific type of draw by threefold repetition. The 50-move rule. If during the previous 50 moves no pawn has been moved and no capture has been made, either player may claim a draw. This requires the players to keep a valid written record of the game so that the claim may be verified by the arbiter, if challenged. There are in fact several known endgames where it is theoretically possible to force a mate but which require more than 50 moves before the pawn move, or capture is made. Examples include some endgames with two knights against a pawn and some pawnless endgames such as queen against two bishops. These endings are rare, however, and few players study them in detail, so the 50-move rule is considered practical for over-the-board play. Some correspondence chess organizations allow exceptions to the 50-move rule. Insufficient material. A player may claim a draw if their opponent has insufficient material to checkmate. For example, if the player has only the king left and the opponent has only the king and a bishop. Such a claim is only valid if checkmate is impossible. Time control. Chess games may also be played with a time control, mostly by club and professional players. If a player's time runs out before the game is completed, the game is automatically lost. Even shorter is blitz chess, with a time control of 3 to 15 minutes for each player, and bullet chess. In tournament play, time is controlled using a game clock that has two displays, one for each player's remaining time. Notation for recording moves. Chess games and positions are recorded using a special notation, most often algebraic chess notation. Abbreviated algebraic notation generally records moves in the format, abbreviation of the piece moved, file where it moved, rank where it moved. For example, QG5 means queen moves to the G file and 5th rank. If there are two pieces of the same type that can move to the same square, one more letter or number is added to indicate the file or rank from which the piece moved, e.g., NGF3 means knight from the G file moves to the square F3. The letter P indicating a pawn is not used, so that E4 means pawn moves to the square E4. If the piece makes a capture, X is inserted before the destination square. Thus BXF3 means bishop captures on F3. When a pawn makes a capture, the file from which the pawn departed is used in place of a piece initial, and ranks may be omitted if unambiguous. For example, EXD5 or EXD. If a pawn moves to its last rank, achieving promotion, the piece chosen is indicated after the move. For example, E1Q or E1 equals Q. Castling is indicated by the special notations 0 to 0 for kingside castling and O for queenside castling. An en passant capture is sometimes marked with the notation EP. A move that places the opponent's king in check usually has the notation +. added. Checkmate can be indicated by hash at the end of the game of 1 to 0 means white 1, 0 to 1 means black 1, and 1/2 to 1/2 indicates a draw. Chess moves can be annotated with punctuation marks and other symbols. For example, indicates a good move, an excellent move, a mistake, a blunder, an interesting move that may not be best, or a dubious move not easily refuted. For example, one variant of a simple trap known as the scholar's mate can be recorded. 1, e4 e5 2, qh5, nc6 3, bc4 nf6, 4, qxf7 number 1 to 0. Until about 1980, the majority of English-language chess literature used a form of descriptive notation, whereby files are named according to the piece which occupies the back rank at the start of the game, and each square has two different names depending on whether it is from white's or black's point of view. For example, the square known as E3 in algebraic notation is K3 from white's point of view, and K6 from black's point of view. The scholar's mate is rendered thus in descriptive notation: 1, pk4 pk4 2, qr5, nqb3 bb4 nb3, 4, qxbp number 1 to 0. A few mostly older players still prefer descriptive notation, however it is no longer recognized by FIDE. Strategy and tactics. Chess strategy consists of setting and achieving long-term positioning advantages during the game, for example, where to place different pieces, while tactics concentrate on immediate maneuver. These two parts of the chess-playing process cannot be completely separated, because strategic goals are mostly achieved through tactics, while the tactical opportunities are based on the previous strategy of play. A game of chess is normally divided into 3 phases. Opening, typically the first 10 moves, when players move their pieces to useful positions for the coming battle, then middle game, and last the end game, when most of the pieces are gone. Kings typically take a more active part in the struggle, and pawn promotion is often decisive. Fundamentals of tactics in chess. Tactics in general concentrate on short-term actions, so short-term that they can be calculated in advance by a human player or by a computer. The possible depth of calculation depends on the player's ability. In quiet positions with many possibilities on both sides, a deep calculation is more difficult and may not be practical, while in tactical positions with a limited number of force variations, strong players can calculate long sequences of moves. Simple one-move or two-move tactical actions, threats, exchanges of material, and double attacks can be combined into more complicated combinations. Sequences of tactical maneuvers that are often forced from the point of view of one or both players. Theoreticians describe many elementary tactical methods in typical maneuvers, for example, pins, forks, skewers, batteries, discovered attacks, zwischenzugs, deflections, decoys, sacrifices, underminings, overloadings, and interferences. A force variation that involves a sacrifice and usually results in a tangible gain is called a combination. Brilliant combinations, such as those in the Immortal game, are considered beautiful and are admired by chess lovers. A common type of chess exercise, aimed at developing players' skills, is showing players a position where a decisive combination is available and challenging them to find it. Fundamentals of strategy. Chess strategy is concerned with evaluation of chess positions and with setting up goals and long-term plans for the future play. During the evaluation, players must take into account numerous factors such as the value of the pieces on the board, control of the center and centralization, the pawn structure, king safety, and the control of key squares or groups of squares. The most basic step in evaluating a position is to count the total value of pieces of both sides. The point values used for this purpose are based on experience. Usually pawns are considered worth 1 point, knights and bishops about 3 points each, rooks about 5 points, and queens about 9 points. The king is more valuable than all of the other pieces combined. Since it's checkmate, loses the game. These basic values are then modified by other factors like position of the piece, coordination between pieces, or the type of position. Another important factor in the evaluation of chess positions is the pawn structure, or the configuration of pawns on the chessboard. Since pawns are the least mobile of the chess pieces, the pawn structure is relatively static and largely determines the strategic nature of the position. Weaknesses in the pawn structure, such as isolated, doubled, or backward pawns and holes, once created, are often permanent. Care must therefore be taken to avoid these weaknesses unless they are compensated by another valuable asset.